3 new boutique RVs of vastly different sizes and capabilities for those with deep pockets, new Bluetooth control for Honda generators, an update on Starlink satellite internet, and Thor Industries celebrates 40 years in the business. It's time for the latest in RV and camping news. Coming to you from Yellowstone National Park, I'm Jason Epperson, and on these videos, we round up all the latest news stories that affect RVers. If you find value in this video, the best thanks you can give us is a click of the like button. Well, the summer of the RV is winding down, and Togo RV, the parent company of the popular Roadtrippers planning app, is sharing some insights on where all those new RV travelers vacationed. Togo reviewed app usage from nearly 18,000 RVers who use Roadtrippers and found out that the top 10 states that had the most stops planned by RVers this summer were California, Utah, Arizona, Colorado, Wyoming, Texas, New Mexico, Florida, Oregon, and South Dakota. Despite being home to just 1% of the U.S. population, Utah had 7 of the top 50 destinations. Of the 50 most popular points of interest from Roadtrippers, 46 were west of the Mississippi River. Rounding out all the top 5 were national parks: Yellowstone, Grand Canyon, Zion, Arches, and Glacier. Not surprisingly, many of the top RV resorts and campgrounds searched on Roadtrippers were near those destinations. Of the top 10 campgrounds among RVers this summer, only the Albuquerque KOA Journey along Route 66 was located in a major city. 4 of the top 10 RV parks were located in Utah, and half were KOA properties. I'll link to the article in the description with lots more travel trend data. You can also pick up the Togo RV app, which offers maintenance reminders, checklists, and a library of how-to info. And included with it is a Roadtrippers Plus subscription, allowing you to plot 150 waypoints and search for food, campgrounds, and attractions within a certain number of miles from your route. The bundle's normally $39.99 a year, but Togo's given us a $10 discount to offer you. I'll put it in the description below. Well, on our latest news episode, I talked about how Canadian Snowbirds, folks that travel south for the winter, may be in a bind with continued extensions of the border closure. RVbusiness.com is reporting that the Canadian Camping and RV Council is concerned as well. They feel that RVing snowbirds will have no place to go in their own country, facing the difficult northern winter. And they're warning that Canadian campgrounds are not an option. Canadian campgrounds are being pressured to stay open later in the season, but many cannot due to local ordinances and the fact that their water and sewer systems just can't handle a freeze. The council estimates that there are between 50,000 and 200,000 Canadian snowbirds who in March were asked by their government to return home early, causing a strain on some private campgrounds in Canada who opened their businesses earlier to accommodate. Allowing people to occupy these campgrounds into the winter could pose a health and a safety risk. As a potential solution, the council is partnering with the Hotel Association of Canada to offer discounted long-term stays. An article stating that California's Big Basin Redwoods State Park was gone because of a forest fire swept social media recently. Many were concerned that it was the end for a large swath of the dwindling redwood forest. Thankfully, while a wildfire did do significant damage to the park, it was mainly to the park's structures. Redwood trees can famously handle a forest fire pretty well. The park's headquarters is gone, as is a good portion of the campground, but the redwoods live on. Boutique towable company Living Vehicle is set to begin delivering trailers in 2021 that will ship with a whopping up to 380 watts of solar and 47,600 watt hours of energy storage from Volta Power Systems. That's the highest capacity factory lithium-ion system available on any trailer, delivering all night long air conditioning off battery power and a nearly unlimited supply of free energy. You can even charge electric vehicles from it at a rate of 44 miles per charge hour using an optional 240 volt power port that draws on either the battery system, shore power, or the generator. Living Vehicle's 2021 luxury travel trailers are available for reservation this month, with deliveries slated for early next year. If a nearly $300,000 travel trailer isn't enough for you, how about a $1.7 million EarthRoamer? The company's latest XV-HD luxury overlanding vehicle is built on a Ford F-750 chassis, which doesn't come with four-wheel drive as an option, so it's modified by EarthRoamer. Ford's 6.7-liter V8 turbo diesel is paired with a heavy-duty 6-speed torque-shift transmission, and the chassis is upgraded with rear air ride suspension, 46-inch Michelin XZL tires, and Fox shocks in the front and rear. In the body, there's spray foam insulation, radiant heat in the floor, and dual roof-mounted DC air conditioners that can run off the batteries and are fed by a beefy solar system. According to EarthRoamer, there are currently a total of 5 XV-HD models on the road, with 3 in production. If something rugged but perhaps a little more affordable and a bit smaller is your style, check out the new Mobi X. Okay, it's a lot smaller. You may have seen adventure trailers like this before, but this one grows impressively when you deploy it at camp. It weighs in at 1,676 pounds and rides on 16-inch all-terrain tires, making it towable by virtually anything, anywhere. It features a slide-out front section and a fold-down side with a full exterior kitchen that boasts built-in burners, a sink, and cabinets with dishes and cookware stocked standard. It has a canvas fold-out bathroom with an outdoor shower and portable toilet. There's space for 2 people inside the trailer and 2 more in the room tent, increasing to 6 with the optional rooftop tent. There's a 270-degree exterior awning, a DC cooler, a water heater, and 40 gallons of water storage. It's an Australian brand, but you can get it shipped to the US, and they start at about $21,000. Hey, I said it was cheaper than the EarthRoamer, not that it was cheap. New Honda generators are coming equipped with Bluetooth functionality. An app will allow you to start, stop, and monitor operations of portable Honda generators from an Apple or Android device. The app operates within a 75-foot line of sight. You can read output power, engine operating hours, oil life, estimated runtime, warnings, and routine maintenance reminders. You can even control multiple Honda generators from a single device. Only electric start models will be able to start from the app, but the pull start models, such as the EU2200i, will still allow for remote stopping and monitoring. The state of Maine has shut down a campground that hosted a wedding reception on August 7th, responsible for 87 cases of COVID-19, including 1 death. Big Moose Inn, Cabins, and Campground must close for at least a month after the wedding, which was attended by 65 people despite the state's limit of 50 people for events. The business was originally only issued a citation, but inspectors found that violations still existed in a later visit, such as dining room tables spaced less than 6 feet apart and employees not wearing face coverings or social distancing. The park was also not documenting guest compliance with the state's 14-day quarantine, which is required in Maine for lodging facilities. 60 more satellites launched Thursday from the Kennedy Space Center to join SpaceX's Starlink fleet, adding coverage to the satellite internet network, which is well into the first phase of testing in the Pacific Northwest. It was the 101st launch in SpaceX's history and the 93rd flight of their Falcon 9 launcher. After deployment from the rocket, the satellites extended solar panels and fired up Krypton ion thrusters to begin raising their orbit to the Starlink network's operational shell, 341 miles above the Earth. SpaceX has now delivered 713 Starlink satellites to orbit over the last year and a half in order to build a system that could rival cellular and cable internet, at least in rural areas, eventually. SpaceX plans to launch thousands of Starlink satellites, but the network will be fully operational once they get 1,440 crafts in orbit. The company also has to manufacture tons of user terminals and ground stations before it comes online. But it's already the largest fleet of satellites in the world and well on its way to hitting the 1,440 goal in the coming months. Eventually, 12,000 Starlink satellites will blanket the planet with high-speed, low-latency internet. Starlink employees and their families are participating in the first testing phase, and a public beta should roll out later this year. Until enough satellites are launched, though, Starlink has just enough coverage to provide connectivity to users at high latitudes. Current testing shows download speeds greater than 100 megabits per second, fast enough to stream multiple HD movies all at one time. But there's competition. Amazon plans a fleet of thousands of satellites, and the British government announced in July it will take a stake in OneWeb, which filed for bankruptcy in March after launching 74 satellites in what was supposed to be a constellation of 648 spacecraft. Now, astronomers have expressed worries about the low-orbiting Starlink fleet's impact on ground-based observatories ever since the first 60 satellites were brighter than expected. The reflective surfaces bounced sunlight to the ground as they flew overhead at dawn and dusk, looking like a line of UFOs. SpaceX responded by introducing a darker coating on Starlink satellites earlier this year and debuted a modified satellite design in June that incorporated a radio-transparent sunshade to make the units less reflective. Starlink is probably still a ways off for unlimited internet option for RVers. It's going to be excellent in rural areas at first, but less effective in cities, where more people will be competing for the same amount of bandwidth. And though CEO Elon Musk has hinted that the service will cost around $80 a month, the antennas will likely be pricey, in the multiples of thousands of dollars. Still, the future of satellite internet is no doubt exciting for those of us that travel heavily and are looking for ways to get internet access in the middle of nowhere. The world's largest RV manufacturer, Thor Industries, has pledged net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. Thor is joining other manufacturing companies around the world in the UN Global Compact Business Ambition for 1.5 degrees Celsius. It's a mouthful, but it's a worldwide effort to keep global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial era levels. They've also hired a new vice president, tasked with leading the company's sustainability efforts. Being a company with a close relationship with the outdoors, CEO Bob Martin pointed out that efforts to become greenhouse gas net neutral will play an important role in making sure the outdoors remains available and desirable for generations of RVers to come. Well, this year marks the 40th birthday for the RV giant Thor, which owns brands you know like Keystone, Jayco, Dutchman, Heartland, and Airstream. Though Airstream had been around for 50 years, the stalwart luxury trailer brand had fell on hard times in the 70s. Thor's founders launched their business with the purchase of that most recognized name in trailer manufacturing on August 29, 1980. Airstream returned to profitability in its very first year under the new Thor management. 2 years later, Thor turned its Airstream profits into the purchase of Canadian trailer and fifth wheel manufacturer General Coach. By 1984, they became a public company listed on the over-the-counter market. In 1986, Thor hit the New York Stock Exchange, and Forbes magazine ranked it 6th out of the 200 best small companies in America. Heading into the 90s, Thor entered the bus industry with the acquisition of Eldorado Bus and National Coach, while still continuing to grow its RV market share. They picked up trailer manufacturers Dutchman and Comfort, and Four Winds International, a manufacturer of Class A and Class C motorhomes, along with another bus company, Champion. After the turn of the century, Thor brass set their eyes on Elkhart, Indiana-based Keystone RV, and when they closed the $145 million deal, Thor held a 25% market share in travel trailers and fifth wheels. Shortly thereafter, they added Damon Motor Coach and Crossroads RV, and after the financial crisis of the late 2000s, Thor's buying spree only intensified. In September 2010, Thor made its largest acquisition to date when it purchased Heartland. That year, they also brought on the second largest ambulance manufacturer in the United States, and they merged their Damon and Four Winds brands to create Thor Motor Coach. Then came 2 luxury coach acquisitions and specialty horse trailer manufacturer Bison Coach. The RV business was booming, and it was clear that that's where Thor needed to focus. So in 2013, it sold off all its bus brands, exiting the business altogether, while bringing on even more RV brands. KZ came on board, along with aluminum RV maker Live and Light, just as Thor took over Navistar International's million-square-foot, 150-acre Indiana campus. Then came towable maker Cruiser RV and luxury fifth-wheel maker DRV. And then in 2016, Thor acquired Jayco, which included subsidiaries Starcraft, Highland Ridge, and Integra. Jayco's J-Flight has been the #1 selling travel trailer for the past 14 years. Finally, last year, Thor Industries completed its acquisition of Erwin-Hymer Group, one of Europe's largest makers of recreational vehicles. The combination of Thor and Erwin-Hymer created the world's largest RV manufacturer, making more than half of the RVs you see on the road today. That's it for the latest news update. Let us know in the comments what you think of this week's stories. And if you like this type of content from us, please let us know by clicking the thumbs up icon to like the video. If you want to get notified every time we put a video out, click the subscribe button and then the notification bell. Make sure to check us out every week on the RV Miles podcast, available on any podcast app or right here on YouTube. Until next time, keep logging those RV miles.